went to work with my mom. She's a housekeeper. She does, and I remember she pretty much breaks her back just to be able to. I remember being a kid watching her try to just keep us afloat.
Yeah.
On top of that, trying to find father figures for myself, and and every time she kind of just kept like falling into a bad hand. So now I knew that I'm in a good position now where I'm able to help my mother versus not before. When I'm in the military, I can't really help her if I'm all over the world.
Yeah.
So I sat there for a good minute. I think it was like a month like a month and a half before I had to get out. My contract was about to be up, and I was like, I ripped the papers apart, and I decided that I had to go home. So the whole time while I was there, I had to play the funk like the guys that were getting med sept and everything. Thought, I could hardly wait to get out. The Marine Corps, and I followed suit. I did the same thing. I could just say, I could hardly wait to get out, even though it was half-assed when I was saying it. I was like, the Marine Corps sucks, blah blah blah, whoop-de-whoop, and I was just like, it wasn't even like that for me. I loved the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the Corps. The Corps gave me so much experience and so much like. It was hard for me to say, to rip up those papers. And I remember drinking my ass off that night, but that's besides the point. But I didn't want to leave because I felt like I still had a lot to teach. I wanted to, I did consider even becoming a drill instructor for a minute. And I wanted to do all these things. I wanted to continue working with my buddy Boogie and, continue on to the next unit together, because we've been together since we were in Okinawa. I mean, not even Okinawa, since 29 Palms.
Yeah.
So now I'm losing one of the biggest brotherhoods I ever had across the board, and
yeah,
he's staying. I'm leaving. A couple of other guys are staying, and the same guys that stayed with me behind over there are the ones that are staying. I'm the only one that's leaving.
Yeah.
So kind of like it felt weird. So I had to play the game of fuck this, I'm leaving. Fuck the Marine Corps, blah blah. When that was not even my real feelings.
You put on a mask.
I put on that mask just to make it easier. So, and I remember talking to my staff sergeant before I left, and I saw that look of disappointment, But of course, he doesn't know the full story. Same with a lot of people. They didn't know the full story of why I was leaving. I just told them, I'm just tired of the...
Now, why? Why didn't you indulge that story?
I think it was because it would have been easier for me just to leave.
Yeah.
It would have been harder if I told them, because then at the same time, I don't want them to feel sympathy for me either. I didn't want them to think try to talk me out of it either. Because I know if I would have told them, they would have found something, or they would have, I don't know. I think I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I just avoided it completely and just put up the front. And it was easier because at this point, once I saw that look of disappointment and that talking was different between me and them, at that point, it was easier just for me to walk away.
Yeah.
Versus if I was to stay there, it would have been like, So for me, it made it easier, I guess you could say.
Man. So, yeah, I remember because I didn't want to get out. I mean, I was forced out, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do hear a lot of stories from some of the guests and other vets that I talked to that, when they made the decision to get out, that they were kind of shunned or outcasted, or I hear that story a lot. So it's interesting, especially coming from an individual who has this hardiness for the Marine Corps, that loves the Corps, wants to teach all the upcoming Marines, wants to make the Marine Corps better. To hear that somebody with so much motivation and drive would be shunned. It puts in perspective just the differences between the military family and the mindset, and then having to separate.
Yeah.
So when you got out,
that fucking story.
Yeah. So you're now integrating back into this world that didn't understand you before you left, and now definitely doesn't understand you.
I think I was angry coming out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was just angry at myself. I don't think I was just angry at myself, or I don't know. I think I was just angry at society as a whole.
Why?
Because I came back and everyone stopped talking about the war. You know, I guess that's what's weird. First off, like nobody was out there. Like it was just like, oh, it was a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, 9/11 happened. That was cool. They're looking at me like, yeah, that happened like 5 years ago. Why are you still dwelling on it? I was like, it's because we're out there still fighting. It's not like we're not doing anything out there. But and then the first month I got bored. I had nothing to do, so I picked up whatever job I could pick up.
Yeah.
I was a caterer for like 6 months. Then I was and I realized that all that work, I told them, like, yeah, I did communications, I did that, and everywhere I applied, nobody wanted to pick me up. If it wasn't for somebody I knew that worked at a catering business, that was the only way I was even able to get a job at first. You know, I was like, okay. And even then, I was catering to the spoiled, to the people that haven't like that. Okay, they went through college, they got their degree. Now they're like, now feed me.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. I felt like I was back to being not even a Lasco, but a brand new recruit, like trying to relearn everything. And I remember going back and forth for a long time where I was just like, I was constantly pissed off at the fact that I was doing this job when I know that I'm like, to me, nothing against the job. It's just that I felt like I could do so much more. I was like, I couldn't sit there. And I was going to school, but at school I wasn't even paying attention because half my peers were like 18, 19-year-old kids that were just sitting there, just not like half-assing everything. And it made me half-ass everything because I was like, if you don't care, why should I? And then at the same time, the professors weren't even taking control of their own. So it was always constantly that, you know what, F this, I'm out of here. You're not teaching me anything new.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't learning at all. And then at the same time, they told me, like, oh yeah, just so you know, you need to take algebra again. You need to take English. And I'm just like, wait, I got to start over again and this too? I'm all like, no way.
Yeah.
I ain't doing this. I'm all like, what about like half the things that like, well, they don't apply to community college. So I'm just like, all right. And then I stopped going to class because I was just like, I was fed up with like the conversations they were having in class. You know, people were not like, they were disrespectful towards the professors, and I wasn't used to that. I remember walking into the college system where there was only a cubicle of somebody. They were brand new to their job too, so I couldn't even be mad at them because they were brand new at the whole like veteran verification process themselves. They're like, oh yeah, you just take classes and you just go to class, and then I'm just sitting there. No one's talking to. I don't even know who's who anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know who's who. Like, and this whole time I'm just like, am I the only one that's going like crazy over here? Like, am I the only one that's like pissed off at half of these kids that don't appreciate what they have? And then I had that mindset. I'm like, do you understand? You're complaining about the most dumbest thing ever, like the fact that you have to do one more page of a paper, and I'm like, and that's all you have to do, and this is what you're complaining about. And that pissed me out to a point where I was just like, you know what? I stopped caring. I didn't care anymore because I'm like, if no one else cares, why am I caring? No one else is like here doing anything. And there was no camaraderie.
Talking about
nobody talks to each other in class.
The only ones that are talking about Kim and Kanye.
Yeah, and I'm just I'm so over. At the time, it wasn't even Kanye yet. It was just Kim.
Yeah.
Kim and Ray J with a brand new sex tape or whatever, and it was just like, oh my! And then I started working for Charter, and then I started going into people's home, and these people were more spoiled than the people I saw in the classroom.
Yeah,
I'm all like, well, I want it this way, but I'm all like, do you understand? Me working comm already, I'm all like, look, sir, do you understand that this your system's gonna work better if you put your wireless up here? So you're able to get across. I'm like, no, I want it here because I want it because this is the most convenient spot. It's away from. I'm like, true. And then sure enough, I get a call back like within a month. I'm like, why am I not getting internet on this side? I'm like, I was just here a month ago telling you that you need it over on this side, and they're like, no, but I still want it here. How do I get more? I'm like, you can't do it with the equipment that we have here. This is as far as it goes, unless you want to add another one. No, because that's more money, and I'm like, everything always came down to money.
Yeah.
And so I was just getting frustrated. I remember I was like, I was constantly frustrated with everybody's attitude towards like not being adaptable to like their own personal stuff or when you do give them the good stuff, they wouldn't like the good like advice, they wouldn't take it, and then later on they want to complain about you because they say that you didn't do a good enough job when you're just like, wait, I just did everything you asked me to and then some.
Yeah.
And then now you want me to change because it doesn't because you're not getting your way.
Yeah.
And these are all spoiled people, and I'm just like, oh my God. And then
so you went from being a server at the same time you were in college in JC.
Yeah.
At the same time as that.
Yeah.
And then at some point you're like, I don't want to be a server. I want to go get a real 9-to-5.
Yeah.
So are you working at Comcast at the same time you're going to JC right now?
No, at this point now, like, yes, I went to Charter. I was working with Charter for
Charter.
Yeah, Charter, yeah. And I was working for them I worked for them for 3 years, and then I got some of my boys coming out because.
So, but you had already quit school.
I already had not yet.
Okay.
I was still taking like part-time classes here and there.
Okay.
But because of how much the work was at Charter Communication, like I had to do constant certain amount of jobs, and the first supervisor I had were Marines, so they understood the way we thought. Then they changed me to this other guy that, like, he just said, just get the job done. Like, it was more like, no, and he got stuck in his old ways, like where he wasn't adaptable to the new technology. He didn't want to learn the new technology. So when you try to explain to him why certain things wouldn't work, they're like, no, but it's always worked for me in this way. You're expecting us to do these jobs, but you don't understand the job itself. How do you expect us to, so it became that like constant conflict.
Yeah. I see a lot of that when in my first job. I saw a lot of, we're used to doing it this way, or, this is the way it's always been done. You're like, man, it's 2000X right now. It's not 1974, bro.
Where like these guys were working on analog and we're working on digital now.
Yeah.
Where their jobs required only like doing 2 jobs a day when we're trying to push out 8.
Yeah.
And we're working with digital versus them working with just like a basic antenna.
Yeah.
We're working now with like modems and freaking cable and like VoIP. Well, this guy's all he ever had to do was plug and play with a freaking cable box.
Yeah.
And so it's now becoming this thing with all like, well, you need to perform. I'm like, I'm giving you the reasons why it's hard to get to this point. I'm like, you're not gonna be able to push out this many jobs if you don't understand that these certain areas have issues and you don't want to fix that. And we bring back the reports, we bring back the numbers, we bring back all the data that needs to be done to fix it, but they don't want to fix it because they're like, well, you're just a technician.
Yeah.
Well, like then what's the point of us being like? It became so I was just like, so I stopped focusing on school. I gave up. I quit. Like I think it was 2000. I won't say 2008. I quit because I was just like, I was so sick and tired of them pulling me doing all this overtime because they didn't want to clean up their backyard.
Yeah.
And the whole time, just like, I'm so sick and tired of these guys,
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. No one's backing each other up. And every time something went wrong in their section, they would throw us under the bus every single time. Yeah. And we would get write-ups for little dumb things. Like, to me, these weren't leaders. I was back to being back at that Lance Corporal with that corporal again. I'm just like, no. And so I stopped concentrating and I stopped. I left my community college with a 0.67. 0.67. That was my GPA because I stopped caring.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'm starting over. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, you said a few weeks ago that you have a theory about why vets don't do well in school.
I feel like first of all, we're non-traditional students. We don't think like your average freaking student. So the average student's already used to being like at school, lecture. Versus in the Marine Corps and the military as a whole, they're like, you get lecture, application. And that's something that is beautiful about the military, that you have that ability to be like, okay, once you learn it, now apply it. Versus like when you're in school, we don't have that same thought process where we learn, and we never apply it until you get out of the system. And it doesn't work. We don't work that way. Like our brains does not work where they want us to present this beautiful thing that they call like education when you don't apply it. The closest thing that comes is you don't only see it until like maybe like in your last year of your education system where you have to apply through internships. And even then, it's not really